there's only costs if you don't have 365, if you're not if you are a institution or a academic institution. So the way I read it is that there is no cost. I just want to make sure that we're confirming that I read that correctly. Because if there isn't, this thing is great. It's like an insular Facebook, where it would be Facebook, but only for our guests, which would be our alumni. Yeah, so it's like the whole community idea, but just for us. Yeah.
What I wanted to chat with you about was, kind of came to my attention that and this is always difficult to know where one's loyalties lie and what one should say, that you may have passed on something that Deb Rice said to you to Dr. Burton. And it seems like there are no other alternative pathways by which that information could have been delivered other than you would, so it's hard not to make the conclusion that perhaps that's what happened. And it's since resulted in about an hour and a half of my time being spent dealing with the problem that erupted from it, as well as future time that might, and as well as maybe costing you the trust of somebody who kind of presumed that maybe what she passed on to you wouldn't necessarily move on to anyone else. And it's always difficult, I know, because I can remember very vividly these kinds of things, that when you're starting out graduate school that it's not exactly clear, kind of betwixt and between. You're not really a professional yet, but you're not really an undergraduate student anymore. So you're sort of in this another region where it's not clear what the rules are.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of anonymity that exists. And I know that Deb is pretty upset that she felt like a conversation that had no particular reason to be passed on to anybody would have moved on to a person, and it isn't exactly clear why necessarily that would have happened or what would have been gained by it. And now we're dealing with the fallout of that. So I want to caution you that, first of all, to be very, very careful what you pass on to other people. Silence is usually golden, and it's hard sometimes to see that there's much benefit in acting as a conduit for anybody or for anything, because in the long run that stuff will come back ultimately to haunt you, either in terms of people will no longer include you or who knows what. And I think that from what I've heard from people, that you were astute enough to know that you want to stay away from the politics in the department. I'm not going to think there's any at all, because frankly I think the politics are a sign of a dysfunctional department, not a functional one, but that's being addressed, and I've been working on it for a year and a half, and we're not done. And politics are primarily a consequence of people who place themselves ahead of the mission of the group. And when I see people who do that, I know it drives their behavior, and it means I don't trust them necessarily to put that mission first, because I can't tell what they're going to do. And I would think at this point that you would have seen enough from what has gone on over the last 6 months to understand that there are deeper issues here than you're necessarily privy to, and that the smartest move is to
stay as far away as possible.
Well, there's nothing you're going to do that's going to make a difference, except that if something explodes in the face, you'll get hit by shrapnel.
Yeah.
And the best thing for you to do is stay away from where that happens. And, I've been doing, not necessarily chair stuff in this department, but similar kinds of stuff for a long time. And one of the things that you learn in such positions is that everybody else thinks they know what they would do in the position, but none of them know everything the chair knows. And if they knew what the chair knew, then they would, in some cases, shut the hell up. And in other cases, they cut the chair a break because they know that the chair is taking a hit for everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to set myself as some kind of market, so the job is going to be too long to do it. But
no, and I think politics is a perfect way to make a, I don't know, you can compare the two, because you often see that when somebody's running for something, they haven't been in that seat they'll kind of say the same thing when they get there, and they change their mind when all of a sudden they're on an intelligence committee or something, and go, well, okay, I'm gonna not do that, yeah.
Yeah. That's the case here, and there are people who have drawn conclusions about things who have no idea what they're talking about, and frankly, they're less well thought of in some cases because they're playing the fool, because they assume that what piece of the whole they've gotten represents the entire whole, and it does not. And you'll never know, no one will ever know, because some of them are personnel issues that they simply cannot be privy to. And I know how that sounds, but that's also the way it is. And one should always take what anyone tells them with a grain of salt, because you don't know what self-interest is driving those kinds of things. And I would just caution you that you think twice and maybe thrice before you pass information on to anyone that, frankly, they don't necessarily need to know. And in this case, it may cost us a significant amount of time and effort that ultimately won't result in any changes, but it will be a huge time sunk. And it's the last thing in the world I want, and the last thing anybody needs is for my attention to be distracted by stuff that really doesn't have to happen anyway. So if I were you, I might think about going and having a conversation with Deb and see if you can't make amends
Okay.
over that. And she may just tell you, go to hell, I don't know. Say, I have nothing to say, and you may have nothing out of it, but this is sort of a mentoring conversation between you and I. No one else is privy to it, and it's not designed to be a horrific kind of thing, but rather to give you a little bit of advice. And I recall when I was a master's student making a mistake, and rather than cutting off the legs when the claw were bleeding, I was given a chance to demonstrate that it was a one-time affair and only that. And if you find yourself unable to maintain a professional discretion about what people say, then it's probably best to remove yourself from these situations where you're even learning, because that's not going to help anybody. And in the end, you will get caught in the shrapnel, because the explosions that occur, and I've been in departments where they do occur and some where they don't occur. They're never pleasant and never particularly functional. And I've served in 4 or 5 departments in my life, 2 of which have been a blessing, and some of which have been less so. And I think that you can assess sometimes the degree to which someone's interests are the mission or their own by the number of times they use the word I and me in their conversations. And the more they do, the more my experience tells me where the person's real loyalty lies. And it isn't, as we say, with the team. That's just my sense of things. And I don't know, whether that makes any sense to you or not. Just that it's kind of a little word of advice that as you get older and you meet more people and you get burned a few times, you start to learn what is
Kind of the reality is of those situations.
And it doesn't, it makes the world sound a lot worse than it is. The reality is there are people out there that don't do stuff for themselves. That I got defeated on city council by a person whose sole reason for being on city council was to make sure that city employees had 40 hours a week instead of 37. And then, of course, they got back and discovered that they didn't have the money to do it. What a big shock. And they also had to defend the fact that when it went from 40 to 37 hours, the amount of work produced by the city employees hadn't changed any. Which tells me they were being overpaid for 3 hours a week. So, but, I mean, I just kind of laugh at that stuff, because in the end, the people who made the decision that the government didn't deserve me. So those who voted for me and didn't get me, well, I'm sorry.
I know. That's the way it falls sometimes.
Well, it landed me here. I don't know if that's good or bad, but the net result is that people think the government didn't deserve. So just kind of a word of the wise. I would watch the.
Yeah, certainly whatever has been going on here, there's people that I respect them different areas or whatever. I don't really know where all this stuff falls out or where the chips end up. So, yeah, just try to stay out of everybody
Well,
else's
you don't
stuff.
know the whole story.
No, and that's what I'm
Frankly, if you did,
saying,
I
yeah.
suspect you'd be amazed by it all. And, all I can do is try to treat people fairly. You know, if they can't deal with that, then that's how it is. And I think I do try to do that. And it's up to them whether they will recognize me or not. And, that doesn't mean everybody gets treated the same all the time, because a lot of people confuse egalitarianism or equality with everybody gets the same thing all the time the same way, which is not how it is.
No.
And it gets spread out when I have time and the ability to do it. And, so watch when someone says something to you, it's generally private information. Now, I know you could say, well, you didn't tell me not to say it, but then that results in something else emerging, which is okay. You know, somebody around whom we will never say anything because they can't be trusted to exercise professional discretion in terms of what they heard. And sometimes people just rant. Sometimes people just got to get something off their chest, and once it's done, it's done. That doesn't mean it has to be passed on to anybody in particular. And end up, when you do those sorts of things, deciding to cast your lot in with one side or another, when in fact your practice group decide you should cast your lot in with the person's paying you.
Yeah. Or just out of the lot altogether.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to just have a chat with you about. If you get a chance, I mean, she may not want to talk to you, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Deb and see what she has to say about it. So,
Okay.
so that's all I had.
Okay. Yeah. There was actually, I don't want to depart too far off the subject, but there was I read somewhere about the emails that go from somebody lower to somebody higher, and that the lower individuals usually typically, when they feel less confident about the position, will use I and me more in the emails to a superior.
Well, that may be true in emails, but I'm talking about in general.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was something that I came across probably 6 months ago. I thought, that's interesting. So have you bring it up again.
Well, I'm looking at
another
something
context.
different.
Yeah.
Which is, the people who I like are the we and the us people. The I and these people, in my experience, tend to be less focused on mission, and I have enough experience with people to say that that's the way to bet. Actually, it's not an absolute. Nothing's an absolute. But there's another element too, which is there's a chain of command. It exists for a reason, which is that if everybody felt compelled, say, to write an email to the provost, you never get anything done. But most problems we solve at a local level, all people need to do is simply talk about it and be done with it. And some people have a propensity to do everything by email, which is a huge time suck as well. The nuances of personal face-to-face communication are lost. The ability to ask clarifications are lost. 99% of problems can be solved quickly and easily simply by people who will trust each other and engage in a collegial relationship with each other. Those who tend not to do that tend to have more difficulties, and that's also something that's true. So being a colleague means focusing on mission and helping everybody do their job. And I've been in collegial departments where it's almost a delight to be there because you know people have your back. And I've been in departments where you didn't turn your back because you didn't know who was to plunge a knife into it.
Yeah.
And it's much more fun to be the former than the latter. And the one thing we don't want to do in this department is contribute to any propensity for people to do that. And this department's had issues. I'm not here because it's an accident. The dean didn't just suddenly say, oh boy, let's change chair. Anybody who's got enough experience in either politics or academia or anything else knows that those things don't just happen.
Yeah.
And
Typically not.
I didn't go looking for this job. She came and asked me. And so I have theories as to why she might have thought I was suitable for the position. That's up to her whether it would be consistent with what she really did. I don't know. But, be careful in terms of where you affix loyalties. It's fine to be loyal. It's another thing to be blindly loyal. And the one thing you don't want to do is end up with difficulty. So if I were you, I would try to steer the course down the middle as much as you can. the best advice you probably can give anybody,
Yeah, I think so.
so. And hopefully you'll take that the right way and recognize that maybe you made a mistake, so. You know, we do with mistakes.
Own them, fix them, learn them.
And move on.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Cool.
Well, enjoy the rest of your night.
Hey, it only comes once in the week.